Kalimera pedia. Kalimera pedia. I hope you're doing well. Someone asked a question quite recently on the channel. What's the difference between an expat and an immigrant? And I reply, okay, with the information that is out there online, okay, about the differences between an expat and an immigrant. When I started this channel, I swear to God, I did not know that there were so many things attached to the word expat that people perceive in a negative way. I know I'm an ignorant when it comes down to certain topics and when it comes down to certain things, and I should know better because I live abroad. My whole life is one of living in a foreign country, not only here in Greece, but in many other countries, including the States, including Canada, including the UK, including England. And now finally here in Greece, okay? But when I started this channel, I realized that some people were very triggered by the word expat. And I thought to myself, like, am I missing something here? And quite clearly I was, because my first video here on the channel, the opening line is, my name is Daniel and I am an expat living in Greece. And that just came out so naturally because it's a term that has been used to describe a certain person. And then I realized when people started to leave comments like, oh, you're a privilege, or, you call yourself an expat, but you're actually an immigrant. I'm like, I don't have an issue calling myself an immigrant. I don't have an issue saying that, yeah, I live here in this country and I have no intentions of going back to my homeland, to Venezuela, or I don't have a problem calling myself an expat or an immigrant. I mean, you can, I identify as Daniel, someone that lives here in Greece, and this is my Greek lifestyle. But I had to do some research, I have to admit, when I first uploaded that very first video, and I realized that the word expat, either on the thumbnail or on the title, will trigger some rage in some people. And and I get it. I understand. I'm a reasonable human being, and I understand the differences that when it comes down to the definitions and how these terms have been used. The purpose of my videos and how I do this in the context of what I create here on the channel is to reach my audience, which my audience, they will identify as expat. I hate to use that word, identify as expats. But I have a good British friend, actually. She lives here in Greece, and she has a family. She's married to a Greek. And she refers herself as an expat, even though she's an immigrant. But that's just a word that we use without any type of energy attached to it, that we're privileged, or she's privileged, or we're not an immigrant, But I get it. I mean, when you read the definitions and when you read the conversations that are happening online, when it comes down to this topic, which I gotta confess, I really hate to be in the middle of it all, like all these terms, like, oh, but you're an immigrant, you're an expat, like, whatever, man, call me whatever you want. Yeah, I'm an immigrant, I have no problem. But somehow the term immigrant, first of all, it's a big word, so maybe in the thumbnail it won't fit, okay? And the same goes in the title. And expat, when people are looking for life abroad, they usually go like, expat life in Bali, for example. Okay, let's forget about Greece. Expat life in whatever, and that's where I felt, or that's how I feel that my content fits in, right? And but I understand that there's a lot of confusion. There's a lot of depending on how you see things, you can see it your way, and then you can certainly see me as someone who is, I don't know, privileged or whatever you want to see me. That's none of my business, really. I'm here just trying to share my life, and when I use the word expat, I use it all the time on thumbnails, on my titles, because that's what the audience is looking for. That's the content, that's the keyword, all right? And yeah, if I put an immigrant in Greece, I don't know, maybe I should try that actually, and put life of an immigrant in Greece, and maybe I should take over as well that keyword. Actually, that's a great idea, because the truth of the matter is that once you type in right now in the search, either on Google or on YouTube, expat life or a foreigner's life in Greece, my channel appears. And that's not by mistake. That's because this is the niche that I'm in, or the market that I'm in. But I never thought for a second that the word expat will create so much rage or so much anger in certain people, and and it will make me perceive as someone who is something that I'm not, right? Like, I'm an immigrant. I don't have a problem calling myself like that. I have given here on the channel multiple times, many times, what my background is. Like, I was born in one country, but I was raised in another one, and now I live here in Greece. So it's pretty messed up, right? Because I was born in the UK, but I grew up in Venezuela, okay? And yet I live here in this country as a British citizen. But, yeah, I'm an immigrant. I'm very happy to live here. I mean, I don't know if that makes any difference in the way you perceive me, or the way someone can read one of my titles or one of my thumbnails and say like, oh, I feel happy with the way he identified himself now, that he's not an expat, but he's an immigrant. I mean, who cares really? The answer that I gave to this person obviously explains it a little bit better based on what's out there on the internet, because quite frankly, like I said to this person, like I didn't know that there was such a massive difference in it. I think that the average person will probably think that it's the same shit anyways, right? Yeah, if you're an expat, you have the intention of maybe going back home. But, if I decided to go back home today or tomorrow to Venezuela, then in theory, that will make me an expat, because my intentions are now to go back to Venezuela. But because my intentions are to stay here, and as long as I stay here, I am an immigrant, and yes, I have integrated into the community. I live here. I'm not going back home for the Christmas holiday seasons. As you can see, I have some decoration here. I'm staying here. I live here. I'm not going back home. I'm not here because of employment. I'm not here because of anything. I'm here because I want to live here in Greece. And yeah, because my wife is Greek as well. And I convinced her, by the way, to move here to Greece back in 2010 because she did not want to come back to Greece. I've told that story many times before, but I am here because I wanted to be here. And, when I started this channel, documenting my journey and sharing my journey, it just came so natural, without any intentions of classifying myself as a white privilege or as someone who's coming from the West and is in better position than others. I mean, there's so much conversations that we can have about immigration. But hey, I come from Venezuela. And if you haven't been reading the news for the last 10 years or so or more, then you will know that I come from a country that is arguably in worse conditions than Greece. So yeah, I am an immigrant. I am an expat. I am everything. And I've been everything, by the way, because I lived in many countries temporarily. And at one point, when I was living in England, I was British. I was a British citizen. I am a British citizen. Right? Funny enough, that sounds weird because I am a British citizen in paper. But when I was living in London, I was living in England as a born British. I was born in London. And people could not fathom that idea that this Venezuelan guy could just arrive in England, get a job, and whenever they will ask me for my papers, like visa, whatever, it would be like, well, I'm British. I don't need a visa. What do you mean you're British? You're Dan from Venezuela. I had a friend back in the day in England. He passed away, rest in peace. He used to call me Mexican Dan, because all he knew is that if I'm from Venezuela, his idea or his concept, his point of reference of someone from South America, for him, it was just Mexico. So he would call me Mexican Dan. I was happy with that term. If you can identify me as Mexican Dan, and that's the point of reference that you have of me because you don't know where Venezuela is on the map, or you just think that everybody from South America is Mexican, I'm fine with that. He was a good friend, by the way. I loved him to death. He was such a good friend. He's actually one of the guys who actually helped me with, that's so long ago. He was actually helping me with music production software, recording software. He wrote a nice thing, which I lost, and I could never forgive me for that because this guy passed away. He wrote on the CD, it was a DVD with some software, some music software that he gave me. And he wrote like to my dear friend, Mexican Dan. I will never, Anatrichisa, when I tell that story, man. Good friend. And my point is that I didn't feel offended by him calling me Mexican Dan. I was very happy, But my point is that when I was living in London, was I using that tool? Like, oh, I was born in London and I'm British and I'm from England. I'm from Venezuela, man. I'm Mexican Dan, for whatever you want to identify me as. And we just do whatever we have to do. I'm still me. I'm a person. But I understand that a lot of people get triggered by this word, expat, when they see expat life in Greece and it's me making music or YouTube videos and they see me the way I look. Some people get angry. They're like, hey, you're not an expat, you're an immigrant. Yeah, whatever. you know, sorry I offended you, or sorry that it is not the way it goes down well on you, or maybe you read it and you perceive me in a different way, or you perceive the content and the term in a different way, without getting too political and too sensitive about certain topics, you know. I do feel for immigrants and for expats equally, because that's my life. And I do feel for people that live here in this country and in other countries, you know, in different situations, right? Like, for example, if they're refugees, you know, I know many Venezuelans, by the way, that live in the States that are refugees, and their status in it is much different than mine. In fact, I have family members who are in the States with a particular status, okay? I have a cousin, for example, that he's with a status as a refugee, okay, because of what's been happening in Venezuela for the last few years. So, yeah, do I feel fortunate enough that I was born in one country, raised in another one, and I have the proper documentations in order to live in this country? Yeah, of course, I feel forever blessed and grateful for that. I don't take that for granted for one bit. Do I feel grateful that I'm married to a Greek wife, and even if I did not have my British passport or my British papers, I could probably just apply and say, like, hey, this guy is from Venezuela, he cannot live in Greece, but hey, he's married to a Greek, maybe he can stay here because of marriage? Yeah, that will probably be a solution, right? That will make me still an immigrant. That will make me whatever, you know. It will still make me Daniel, doing this type of videos, right? We all have a story. We all have, you know, something to share with the world, especially people that travel and live in different countries and speak different languages. And it's been a journey that it has been. In the beginning, I thought it was unique, but it's not. My journey is not being unique. We all have a similar journey, especially foreigners and expats. You know, I met so many people that were born in one country and raised in another one, and they speak multiple languages. You know, and you know, we are very similar. That's the thing, that we think that our story is unique and that we are like, you know, this special thing. The reality is that, yeah, my story is my story, and it belongs to me, but there's other people that have similar stories. That they were born in one country, raised in another one, and they're very multicultural, and then they decided to move to another country altogether. You know, I mean, I know people that live in different countries. There are Greeks that they don't speak Greek, and they have kids actually that are born in another country, learning to speak that language, and they're trying to implement the Greek language into their kids because, hey, they're Greeks, but they live in a different country now. And you know, I know this very well because I speak Spanish, and my kids are growing up here in Greece, and they speak English and Spanish because that's the language that we speak here at home. Sorry, English and Greek, and I'm trying to incorporate Spanish as much as I can into the household, and it is very hard because I need to speak Spanish because Spanish is coming from me. So anyways, this is going into different topics now, diverting into different topics, but that's the nature of an expat life, or a foreigner's life, or an immigrant's life. You know, it's all the same, really, when it comes down to the fact that you live in a country where you were not born and raised, okay? And if you were born in one country but raised in another one, then yeah, my roots are from Venezuela. What's in my blood is Latino blood, man. I'm from Latin America. But at the same time, in paper, it shows that I was born in a different location, okay? And yeah, that means quite a lot. That changes life. It changed my life because I went back to England for that precise reason, because I grew up in a country knowing that I was born in the UK. And I was always thinking, like, one day I'm going to go back to England, the place of my birth. Even though I have nothing in common with Britain, I have nothing to do with Britain apart from the fact that I was born there, because my parents were living in England at that point, and they got married in England, and I was born there. And everything unfolded right in front of my eyes, right? When I got to England, I met my wife very, very quickly, and we moved in together. And, you know, fast forward, my daughter was born in the UK, in London. So with my daughter, Fedra, for example, it's a very similar story. She was born in London, but then as soon as she was born, we came here to Greece. So she's British-born, but she's Greek-Venezuelan. You have to see her face when I told her that she has Venezuelan blood as well in her veins. She's like, no, I'm British. Like, no, you're not British. You were born in England, okay? Like me, like daddy. But you're Venezuela, okay? Because my family, my mom and my dad come from Venezuela. And that's from my side. That's the bloodline. From your mom, it's all Greek, okay? So you're actually Greek Latina, okay? It's a deep, okay? But at the end of the day, we're just us, right? But it's important to keep our heritage alive, right? Like, I'm very proud from where I come from. I'm very proud to live here in Greece. You know, this channel is dedicated to my Greek lifestyle. You know, I love everything about Greece, and I love, you know, the fact that my kids are growing here. I love that I have two beautiful girls that are Greek. It doesn't get any more Greek than those two girls. My good friend, that she's English as well, and it's a very similar story. Her eldest daughter was born in the UK, but she's been raised here, and she has three kids. She has other two kids that they were both born here. Similar story to me. Okay, my youngest daughter, she was born here as well in Greece. So, but you know, my friend from England, you know, those girls, they're British and they're Greek, and they speak Greek. But you see them, you're like, okay, they're Greek. You know, they're Greek kids. But yeah, the next thing that, you know, they start talking to you in English, you're like, whoa, where are we? Right? We're in England all of a sudden. I don't think they're concerned about the term like expat or immigrant. They're just themselves, right? They're just young kids that are being grown here in Greece, and they're Greeks. Anyways, this is a longer video as usual that I wanted it to be. I'm just here doing a little bit of work. I hope you're doing well, my friend. Thank you so much for the love and support. I have a few comments actually that I've been getting quite recently. I answered to a comment yesterday, and this person actually deleted it afterwards for some reason. I have a screenshot anyways. It's a very sensitive topic. I probably want to share more about it. Based on my previous videos talking about loneliness here as expats, there goes that word again, or immigrant or whatever. And maybe I want to talk a little bit more about that, because I know that it's a touchy subject for a lot of people, mental health, depression. The comment was, they were mentioning about depression and mental health and all of this. It was a little bit of a personal comment towards me. And, you know, I don't get defensive, but I thought it was a great conversation. But unfortunately, this person decided to delete the comment. I'll probably share about it. I have the comment there, and I probably would like to unpack a little bit more, because it comes down to that, right? Like, you know, it all comes down to how we perceive ourselves and how we fit in the world, and how, you know, I mean, the comment, first of all, is talking about the fact that he lives abroad as well, and that he's not worried about fitting in, and the topic was about loneliness and all of this. But this has a lot to do with what I'm saying here about being an immigrant or an expat, or trying to live a life as a foreigner in a new country or a new place, in a different place that is not yours. Okay, and that's the reason why I'm bringing this up. So there are some comments that you guys have been dropping here on the videos. I don't have the time to go through all of them and answer, but I would like to unpack. I'm trying my best to answer to some comments. Somebody left a comment somewhere like, yeah, he never replies to the comments. I've been following him and he doesn't answer to anybody. It's just because I don't have the time. Okay, I do scan through the comments though. Sometimes the comments are like this ones, okay? Sometimes it's like, oh, what's the difference between an expat and an immigrant? And I just feel the need to answer. And I do have 5 minutes to just like, hey, this is what's out there online. This is the definition. You know, hopefully that will answer your question, because I was like that, like you. Like, I swear to God. Like, and I live abroad, and I was like, I have no idea what exactly the difference is. And I don't understand why people get so triggered, but, you know, here it is. I had to educate myself a little bit and see that, okay, a lot of people, you know, take things in a particular way. And hey, it's the internet. Even this video might be taken in a particular way by some, and they will form an opinion and still, you know, have a different view of me. Either I'm an immigrant, a Venezuelan, or a Mexican. Thank you so much for the love and support, my friend. Σας αγαπάω πάρα πολύ όπως πάντα. I hope you're doing well, and I'll see you in another video.